Welcome to the Past Passport. This isn't just about seeing the world, it's about understanding how it worked. Every city has a story, but the stories we tell here are about systems, trade networks, taxes, currency, labor, supply chains. We go past the palaces and monuments to reveal how real power moved and how empires actually functioned. Because behind every empire is an economy, and behind every economy is a city that made it all work. Today, we're going to one of the most breathtaking places in the world, a city high in the Andes, carved from stone and fed by tribute, a place that held an empire together with no money, no wheels, and no mercy. Let's go to Cusco. It doesn't look like a capital at first glance. It's nestled deep in the mountains, 11,000 feet above sea level. The air is thin. The landscape is brutal. But 500 years ago, Cusco was the beating heart of the Inca Empire, the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. It stretched from what is now Colombia all the way to Chile, and at its center was a city made of gold, stone, and tribute labor. Let's break it down. Unlike Europe or Asia at the time, the Inca economy didn't run on coins. It ran on people, on labor, on time. It was called mita, a labor tax. Here's how it worked. Instead of paying money to the state, Inca citizens paid with work. Every able-bodied man had to devote a portion of his year to public service. That could mean building roads, farming state land, serving in the army, or working on massive construction projects like the terraces and temples that still stand today. And it wasn't optional. This was the price of being part of the empire. Cusco didn't just collect this labor, it orchestrated it. The city was laid out like a blueprint. Roads radiated from it in every direction. Everything was organized, inventoried, controlled. Storehouses stocked with grain and dried meat stretched across the empire, more than 10,000 of them, all tracked using a system of knots and cords called quipus. This was data before writing. An accounting system with no alphabet, no paper, just math, memory, and trained administrators. At the center of it all was Cusco. Temples covered in gold, palaces carved from stones so precisely you can't slide a knife between the blocks. A city built for both politics and ceremony and built to last. So how did this economy work so well without money? It relied on reciprocity and control. The state took care of you. It gave you land, clothes, tools, protection. In return, you gave your labor. It wasn't capitalism. It wasn't communism. It was something else. A command economy rooted in obligation and logistics. The result? Infrastructure on a scale Europe couldn't match. Roads thousands of miles long, bridges across gorges, crops grown at 3 elevations. Empires usually expand through war or wealth. The Incas expanded through engineering. But every empire has its limit, and Cusco's ended with a bang. In 1533, the Spanish arrived. Led by Francisco Pizarro, they walked into a society they didn't understand and decided to dismantle it. They came looking for gold, and Cusco had it. Temples were stripped, statues melted down, palaces looted. But more than the gold, they dismantled the system. The Spaniards didn't want a labor tax based on reciprocity. They wanted control, profit, private ownership. So they kept the mita but twisted it. Under Spanish rule, the mita became forced labor. People worked in silver mines instead of public farms. The state no longer gave back. Now it just took. Entire communities were relocated, cultures erased. And yet, the roads, the terraces, the planning, much of it remained. The bones of the Inca system were too strong to break completely. Even as the Spanish built their own churches on Inca foundations, literally the shape of Cusco stayed intact. You can still see it today. Walk the streets, and you're walking on Inca stone. Look at the colonial churches, and you'll see they're built on temples. The layout, the logic, it all points back to a city that once ran an empire with no coin, no script, and no market economy, but with stunning precision. And that's the legacy of Cusco. It didn't teach the world about money. It taught the world about organization, about building an economy on logistics, not just wealth, about controlling space, labor, and time. And when the Spanish tried to replace it with silver and blood, the city absorbed it and kept going. Cusco still stands. It's modern now, tourist-filled, colorful, alive. But underneath all of that, the old logic hums. The roads still radiate from the city's heart, the stones still hold. And the economy, though changed, still carries traces of what once was. Cusco reminds us that power doesn't always look like gold or guns. Sometimes it looks like a field of terraces, a line of workers, a ledger made of string, a city that knew how to turn tribute into empire. Thanks for exploring with us. If you learned something new, hit subscribe and let us know what city you want to explore next. Because at the Past Passport, we don't just visit history, We trace the systems that built it. And Cusco? That was one of the smartest systems the ancient world ever saw.